I feel like my time at university was a waste. I've been job hunting recently, but can't seem to land one. I need to eat and survive, so I'm trying to find work in my field of study, but the jobs I find only pay about 800 yuan a month. I'm really upset and crying because I feel like the 4 years at university didn't really amount to much. On one hand, I feel like I haven't lived up to my parents' expectations, and on the other, I feel like I've wasted their money and efforts. China's youth unemployment rate has hit a record high, and competition for jobs has become more intense. Many young people who have come to big cities but have been unable to find a job have to accept low wages that are disproportionate to their professional abilities and endure workplace bullying in order to survive. A large number of young people are on the verge of anxiety and collapse. I really can't find a job. Since I have been unemployed for more than half a month, I've submitted my resume to dozens of companies every day. I even spent more than 60 yuan for a job hunting subscription. I refresh my resume every day, but it is of no use. Everything is in vain. Either it has been read and cannot be answered, or it is not read at all. I have absolutely no idea what to do. I keep a brave face, but I'm afraid that I won't be able to find a job before the new year. So what should I do when I go home during the new year? I'm even more afraid that I won't be able to find a job even after the new year. I feel that I'm unable to accept it. I studied hard for more than 10 years. Could it be that the final outcome will be me being unemployed?
大家好，
Hello
我是
everyone, I'm a
22
graduate
号
of the
过期
class of
语，
2022, and I'm a victim of the times. I thought it was difficult enough to find a job last year, but it turns out it is even harder this year. As soon as I go online, I see that all the 2023 graduates are in distress.
我干了啥？
In 2023, the number of fresh graduates in China reached a staggering 11.6 million, setting a new record. Even graduates from prestigious universities, known as 985 and 211 institutions, find themselves struggling in the job market. Despite sending resumes to over 100 companies, attending numerous tests and interviews, they face repeated rejections. This harsh reality shatters their confidence and leaves them questioning the value of their education. It's no use graduating from a prestigious school. You still can't find a job after you graduate. I graduated from an elite university. I went to look for a job before graduation. I think I submitted my resume to 100 companies, and then I took the written test for about 10 companies. From 15 to 20 companies, I failed every time. I even doubted myself in the end. I studied hard for more than 20 years, but couldn't find a job after I came out. I didn't dare go home and tell them. They all thought after I graduated, I'd be living the good life. But what's the use of a prestigious school? I'm still starting from scratch. The grim job market has forced many graduates, both undergraduates and postgraduates, into unemployment or low-paying jobs like food delivery. Statistics show that in the first half of 2023, the number of active food delivery drivers on various platforms reached 40 million, more than half of whom are recent college graduates. A viral video recently highlighted the plight of a 37-year-old designer who, after being laid off, struggled to find work. He resorted to delivering food while searching for a job, eventually securing a position in an office building. When he received the news during a delivery, he couldn't contain his excitement and shouted in the rain, "I found a job!" Overwhelmed with emotion, he broke down and cried. 8 months of accumulated anxiety and injustice were released in that moment. Recently, a new term has emerged: new urban wanderers. Who are they? They are people who pretend to be employed, spending their entire day sitting aimlessly in public places like libraries and cafes with a look of dim hope and burning anxiety in their eyes. These individuals were once expected to be busy in offices, handling a barrage of information and endless meetings. Now, unemployed, they wander in public spaces. An internet user wrote about creating a WeChat group of over 500 people, all unemployed HR professionals over 30. Daily, members share their struggles and frustrations with job interviews and the arduous job hunt. Some have sent out 2,000 resumes only to secure 3 interviews, and yet still no job offers. Others have traveled from Shenzhen to Beijing for interviews, staying months without success before returning. Many have interviewed with 50 companies without a single job offer. Despite many being willing to accept pay cuts of 50%, 30%, or more, they still find themselves jobless. These former professionals, now struggling to find even a basic job to support their families, are crushed under the weight of mortgages and car loans. They worry about their children's education and caring for their elderly parents, constantly fearing their homes will be repossessed. Despite these challenges, they continue to seek ways to survive. This situation raises critical questions. One business manager, Wang, asks, "Where does the problem of such high unemployment rates lie?" Another manager named Yao added, "Everyone thought that after the pandemic, they could thrive in their careers, so why is the employment situation worse than before?" It is well known that China's rising unemployment rate is due to a prolonged economic downturn. Due to the 3 years of the pandemic, the Chinese Communist Party's stringent zero-COVID policy worsened various industries, leading to frequent news of business closures. Additionally, the government's crackdown on the internet, gaming, and education industries led to massive layoffs in many companies. After the pandemic, the accelerated withdrawal of foreign companies, the collapse of numerous private enterprises, and the significant downturn in the real estate sector have triggered a massive wave of unemployment. The most affected are the millions of young graduates who bear the brunt of this unemployment tsunami. How severe is China's unemployment crisis? This year, China's youth unemployment rate has remained high, setting new records each month. In April, the unemployment rate for 16 to 24-year-olds was 20.4%, rising to 20.8% in May and reaching 21.3% in June. Starting from July, China's National Bureau of Statistics announced a suspension of publishing these figures, a decision that sparked skepticism and criticism online, with netizens accusing the authorities of burying their heads in the sand. The unemployment data released by the Chinese government has been controversial and questioned. Officially, there are two types of unemployment rates published: the Urban Registered Unemployment Rate and the Urban Survey Unemployment Rate. Both of these only cover urban populations, neglecting rural and migrant workers. Furthermore, these figures are often accused of being beautified and concealed. The actual unemployment figures in China may be much worse than the official data suggests. Zhang Dandan, an associate professor at Peking University, conducted research on youth unemployment in March this year. His study found that the Bureau of Statistics did not count the 16 million young adults who gave up on work and rely on parents' savings. Therefore, the number of unemployed youths aged 16 to 24 in China could reach as high as 22.3 million, meaning the youth unemployment rate in March could have been as high as 46.5%. This analysis, published on the Caixin website this summer, was quickly censored. Katsuji Nagasawa, a columnist for Nikkei Asia, disclosed in an article on October 26 that people in Hubei province and surrounding areas believe the actual youth unemployment rate may be double the official government data. This means that the unemployment rate among young people in mainland China could be as high as or even exceed 40%. The source further stated that many young people are working only once or twice a week, yet in government statistics, they are counted as employed despite the instability of these jobs. The article noted that for Beijing authorities, controlling the sharp rise in youth unemployment has become an urgent priority. According to Radio Free Asia, a senior editor at Southern Weekly pointed out that perhaps 80% of new college graduates are jobless. An anonymous university professor revealed that under pressure from authorities, universities are forced to falsify employment data. A Professor Chen from Dalian University of Technology confirmed that universities now require secretaries and principals to personally oversee employment, leading to widespread data fabrication. The employment situation is slightly better for students with technical skills in engineering, but for graduates in arts and sciences, the job market is very grim. Professor Chen said, "This year's situation is not optimistic. Employment for comprehensive institutions is particularly challenging, and many companies are downsizing. As more and more unemployed individuals struggle to find livelihoods, the number of homeless people living on the streets has sharply increased. With winter setting in, places like Guangdong, Shenzhen, and Dongguan have seen a significant rise in people sleeping in bridges, squares, and streets due to unemployment."
The severity of China's unemployment crisis is reflected in the lives of those without jobs and shelter, now forced to sleep in public squares, struggling to find food and rest. In cities like Shenzhen and Dongguan, young people are increasingly finding it hard to secure employment, leading some to the distressing life of sleeping on the streets. This phenomenon is escalating.
This was the scene captured by a netizen on November 20th at the Longhua bus station in Shenzhen. People sleeping at the station with their belongings exemplify one of the many gathering spots for the unemployed. However, many are reluctant to leave Shenzhen, raising concerns about whether the authorities might displace those homeless individuals as they have done with beggars in the past. The current generation of young people is increasingly adopting a defeatist attitude. A student shared a disheartened post, lamenting the futility of their 12 years of arduous schooling, comparing it to a prison-like experience, only to end up in low-paying jobs unrelated to their degrees. In a symbolic gesture of despair, students were photographed lying despondently on the ground, some even discarding their diplomas into trash bins. Another netizen quipped that their next step after graduation is looking forward to retirement. The Wall Street Journal reported on November 6 that Chinese officials have launched a series of initiatives to attract young people to work in rural areas. Their tasks include improving the quality of local crops, creating propaganda walls, and extolling the Chinese Communist Party's leadership to farmers. The aim is to send hundreds of thousands of young people to underdeveloped rural areas, providing employment opportunities and boosting the rural economy. On the eve of May 4th this year, official media released a letter from Xi Jinping to university students, urging them to embrace hardships in the new era and seek opportunities in rural areas. Some experts view this move not only as a means to control young people's thoughts and actions, but also as a tactic to alleviate economic urgencies and pressure on the ruling party. Despite these initiatives, many young people prefer to stay in cities, accepting low-wage jobs or relying on their parents' pensions. With a growing number of young people unable to find work and feeling hopeless about the future, there is a looming risk of social unrest. The blank paper movement of last year is a prime example. Triggered by the CCP's zero-COVID policy, which severely affected basic living conditions, people protested by holding up blank sheets of paper. By the end of 2022, residents in over 20 Chinese cities and students from hundreds of universities took part in the blank paper movement against the CCP's lockdown policies and calling for the resignation of the Chinese Communist Party and Xi Jinping. Such direct protests against the CCP and its highest leader are rare in China. Chen Songxing, director of the New Economic Policy Research Center at National Zhonghua University in Taiwan, stated that Xi Jinping's policies have led to extreme conditions, including potential war, economic crises, food shortages, and social upheaval. He criticized these policies as exacerbating China's economic woes, with the youth unemployment rate reaching record highs and a surprising number of young people adopting a passive approach to life. He warned that China's economy is not just experiencing a minor cold, but is in critical condition, with accumulated problems over decades and the withdrawal of foreign investment. Chen predicts that social issues might erupt within the next 3 to 5 years.